Hello again, children, and today we are going to be sharing another story. And our story today is one that links to the Christian value that we're thinking about this half term. And for those of you that can't remember what that is, it is the Christian value hope. And as you can see, our candle is lit. And hopefully you're all ready to start listening to our story today. So this is a story. It's quite an unusual story because the pictures in it are slightly different to ones that we've shared before. And the pictures are made of woodcuts. And woodcuts are a type of art print. And artists carve pictures or patterns onto a piece of wood, and then they cover it in ink and press it onto paper or cloth to actually create the print. And it's very cleverly done. And the story is called The Man Who Planted Trees. 100 years ago, there was a man called Jean-Paul, who went on a long walk through the hills of southern France. The land wasn't very green. In fact, all he could see growing in these bare hills were scrubby bits of wild lavender and little else. There were certainly very few trees. Tired from a long morning's walk, Jean-Paul came to a village. Unfortunately, he soon realised it was deserted. The ruined houses huddled together and silent. There were no roofs to give protection from the cruel wind that was blowing, no trees to shade him from the sun, and the natural spring where the villagers used to get their water had dried up. He'd no water to drink since the previous day, so he carried on walking. And as you're listening to the story, children, you might notice the beautiful woodcuts in the print. After 5 more hours, he spotted a lone shepherd looking after his sheep. The shepherd had a weather-beaten but very kind face and a gentle manner. He gave the stranger a drink from his water bottle and then invited him to share some of his soup. The shepherd's name was El Zayard. They entered the shepherd's stone house, and Jean-Paul soon forgot the bleak and wild landscape outside. The house was clean, neat, friendly, and warm. It was a safe place to rest for the night before carrying on with his journey. After they had eaten, they went outside, and El Zayard brought in a little bag of acorns, and he emptied them onto the table. He began carefully separating the good acorns from the bad ones. When he had collected a large enough pile of the good acorns, he divided them up into groups of 10. Once he had sorted out 100 perfect acorns, he stopped and went to bed. The next day, after taking care of his sheep, the shepherd took the little bag of acorns and dipped it into a bucket of water, and then he went back to his sheep. Curious to see what El Zayard was going to do with these acorns, Jean-Paul decided to follow him. Soon, El Zayard began making holes in the ground. He put an acorn into each hole and covered it with soil. Jean-Paul realised the shepherd was planting oak trees. He watched as the shepherd planted all 100 acorns with great care. Elzéard told Jean-Paul that he'd been planting trees in the wilderness for 3 years, and in that time he had planted a total of 100,000 acorns. The shepherd said that when he first came to the area, he noticed that this part of the country was dying for lack of trees, and having nothing better to do, he decided to try and put things right. He didn't give up hope of making the land better. Jean-Paul thanked the shepherd for his kindness and continued on his journey over the hills. Well, a long time later, he decided to return to the area. And look at what he found. It was a long time later, because it does take a long time for trees to grow. He saw that the previously barren landscape had been transformed into lots and lots of small trees. So this is what a forest looks like, he said to himself. Then he saw the shepherd in the distance. They walked to where the carefully selected acorns had been planted all those years ago to see the beautiful oak trees. They were taller than both of them. They couldn't quite believe it. Families with children started returning to the area, and wildlife came back too. It was like a different landscape. Indeed, water did flow once again from the springs that were previously all dried up, and hope returned to the area because it became healthy and prosperous. And this was because of the man who planted the trees. So in our story, we saw how somebody made a difference. They made a difference and they never ever gave up hope in trying to make something better. So we're going to share a prayer of hope now, and some of you might like to put your hands together as we share our prayer. Dear God, when I stand at the beginning of a new day, bless me with vision to see the best of things to come, wisdom to make good decisions, and most of all, faith that you are walking with me every step of the way. Amen. Thank you for listening again today, children, and see you again soon.